The people that are here to discuss the different, let's say, environment in different countries for video game development are Pavel Miechowski from Poland, from Polish 11-bit studios, then Vlad Micu from Netherlands, from VGVisionary, Vladimíř Geršl from Czech Republic and from Napnok Games, and from Denmark. He works in Denmark now. And Pavel Barák, you already know him from Czech Republic, from České Association, Czech Games. So please, if you can give them a warm welcome or clapping. And here they are. All right, gentlemen, before you start, I'll give you one question. Can you, well, in short, introduce your countries and how is the video game development environment in your country? Let's start from Pavel Miechowski from 11-bit Studios in Poland.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I represent 11-bit Studios, one of the bigger developers in Poland, and also I work for Indie Games Poland Foundation, which is a foundation grouping most of the indie teams in Poland, which is now more than 300 because, and this is where I'm getting to the point, because the game development scene grew up largely in Poland over the last decade, much due to The Witcher's success, Dying Light, This War of Mine, and a few other big titles. And many of the indie teams are actually founded by former employees of those bigger companies, so the knowledge has been somehow transferred, so I can say we're entering a golden era in Poland, I hope, but it of course doesn't mean that we should sit down and enjoy the success, but work hard to go further. And we're also in the moment of, very good moment actually, of exchanging a lot of knowledge between developers from other countries like Netherlands, Slovakia, and so on and so on, being visible on many conferences, because I strongly believe this pays off.
Right, thank you. Vlad from VGVisionary, can you please do the same?
Hi, so my name is Vlad Micu. I'm a free agent in the industry for like 11 years now. Yeah, aside from doing all kinds of things, from being an industry journalist to now being a business development consultant for small to mid-sized game studios. Yeah, my background spans from everything. I've done console, PC, mobile, you name it. But I would say that my main position here on stage is also the fact that I'm, aside from consulting a few game developers right now, I'm also working with the Dutch Game Garden, which is the primary big incubator in the Netherlands for game developers. And I am currently helping them with, business development representation around the world for the studios that are inside of the Dutch Game Garden. Now, the Netherlands is an interesting story. We're not a big country, but we have, of course, guerrilla games, which a lot of people know because of Killzone and Horizon Zero Dawn. I wouldn't call them a Dutch game studio because like 70% of them are foreign and they're owned by Sony, so there's not, there's Dutch pride there, but meh. We also have a couple of other studios that are pretty well known internationally, including Triumph, which recently got purchased by Paradox, so I guess now they're Swedish. Anyways, we primarily are known internationally because of the Dutch design, the fact that we have indie developers like Flambeer, and of course Adriaan de Jong, who's speaking here as well. I haven't seen him today, but I hope he's around. And we have a lot of educational institutes that are pumping out young talent right now. And because of us not having 300 game companies like in Poland, a lot of students actually set up their own studios. So we have a lot of young, ambitious indies that are just starting straight out of college, which is a very interesting development and makes up the majority of our industry right now. Aside from that, yeah, what else is there? I don't spend a lot of time in my own country, actually. I'm in Poland more than I am in the Netherlands this year, so. But yeah, it has, through my travels, which I pretty much have been living out of a suitcase for the last 7 years. I've had the pleasure of not only meeting all of these lovely gentlemen here on stage, but of course also acquiring a lot of perspectives of what happens in the Netherlands compared to the other places I've frequented, and of course the opportunities that my country offers to our developers, but also the opportunities that you can find in other countries for us Dutch developers. So that's pretty much my background, I would say.
All right, so thank you, Vlad. And another Vlad Geršl from Napnok Games in Belgium.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Vladimíř Geršl. I'm pretty loud. No? I'm from Napnok Games. I'm a lead producer there. Napnok Games are a Danish studio with pretty long tradition in Denmark, but they are not purely Danish studio. We have office in Skopje, and we are planning also to hopefully have office in Prague soon. So we are trying to look for talents and opportunities across Europe, I would say. From my history, my personal history, I started games in early, in 2000, 2001. I worked in a Czech. I worked a long time in Slovakia with Activision. So I was also, or I have a good insight in American market and how the business works there. Then I started my own studio in Slovakia, and later on started in Napnok in Denmark. So I would like to maybe not that much introduce, as Vlad, for example, opportunities, but give you more like different points of views from different countries and what I experienced in different business environments.
Thank you. And Pavel, can you also introduce yourself and tell us more about you?
So my name is Pavel Barák. Apart from being director of this conference, I'm also, and have been for last 6-7 years, a chairman of Czech Games Association, which supports the games industry in Czech Republic. We established the association back in 2008, and since then we try to find different ways how to help developers here in Czech Republic and also in Slovakia. And nowadays there are other organizations in Brno. You probably know Game Dev Area, doing pretty great job and quite a lot of similar things to us. We've got the hub, the Game Dev Hub organization, which we cooperate with for last 2 years. So there's plenty of things for games industry, but hopefully this panel will show the examples and possibilities in other countries, and we can say what's already here, what could be done for future, and where we could grow. That's why I'm here to just because I guess the majority of the audience are probably the Czech developers. I want to hear what are the options.
Who is here that isn't Czech or Slovakian? Like if you're not from Czech, because there's a lot of Slovakians at this conference too. See, there's not a lot of foreigners. I like that. All right, cool.
So yeah, that's the introduction for Czech Republic. I guess we don't need more for the beginning.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your introductions. And I also want to address you down there. If you want to ask anything during their talk, just please raise your hands and there will be somebody to give you the microphone and maybe you can share your experiences with the gentlemen. And right now I'm not quite sure how to begin your discussion, so let me ask you one general question. There is a lot of talk, or people talk a lot about the involvement of government and government money in a video games business. Can you maybe elaborate on this, how it is in your countries, if the government, like Ministry of Cultures, if they are involved, if they put money in video game development, if they support sort of a marketing of your country in other countries in a way of video games, stuff like that?
Maybe. Okay, so let me begin maybe. In Poland lately, the situation is pretty good from the governmental side. We can't complain. So first of all, if any of you ever wonders if it makes sense to move to Poland and start a business there, As long as you can accept our mentality and a lot of vodka, then yes. Because registering in a company in Poland will help you to get the grants I will be talking about now. So first of all, the Ministry of Culture recognized games as a part of culture, not IT. Finally, a few years ago, like informally, they kind of recognized it and started grant for prototyping. It's not a big money. It's only 35,000 zloty per prototype, which is like 8,000 euro. So really small money. You can't make a prototype with that. It can only help you a little. So our job as the Indie Games Poland Foundation is to lobby in the ministry to change this model. If you can't get us bigger money, then change the model to invest in less prototypes but bigger money, right? So this is one thing. The other thing is the big one, around $30 million, so 25 million euro, roughly, for research and development. And as you may know, even CD Projekt, the Witcher's maker, are using that grant. Techland is using as well but this is research and development. So this is money you're investing into engines, new techniques, VR, and stuff like that. We also get grants from time to time for Indie Games Poland Foundation, for which we work for free, actually, pro publico bono, to organize different booths at international shows, and we've made so far around 30 to help Polish indies sell their products globally in China, Japan, US, Germany, and practically everywhere. And even here, we are partially thanks to Indie Games Poland Foundation and Polish Institute in Praha and České. Thank you very much for that. So the situation is pretty good at it, because you need to know that when the new government was elected in 2015, no matter how bad PR they get, because they recognized games as a key industry, one of the 10 key industries in Poland, because it's spreading Polish culture, promoting, so it's, the soft power thingy. It's also an exporting industry, because 99% of the income of games in Poland are from outside. So it's a perfect exporter, and we export digital goods, so it doesn't bring extra costs. So it's super sexy for the government. So they started the support, and I have to tell you that helps us to spread the wings. So lobbying in a government is not a bad thing, I would say. As much as some people may want to stay away from politicians for obvious reasons, it still makes sense. They are not that evil. Some of them are humans. And it makes sense to work with them.
If I can add how it's here. First of all, I can also talk for Slovakia a little bit in this case, because there is funding. Just last year started. I was at the jury for who will receive the funding, and it's part of Ministry of Culture, and it's really for indies. It's exactly stated there that the bigger companies, the established companies, can apply. And it's even for the student teams, which is amazing that they've been able to pull it off and to make it happen. And it started just because there were reasonable people at the ministry who you can talk to. Sadly, in Czech Republic, it's not that case. We are very far from that to make it happen here. To really start proper funding for indie developers that we will get. It's not a huge amount of money, but you will receive, I don't know, 10,000-20,000 euros for your indie project. If you are 2-3 man team here in Central Europe, it's quite good, I would say, for I don't know, at least the first year. So you got at least something, and that's quite good. And for us, it's quite a good example to follow, but still, it depends on the people at the ministry who you can talk to. But let me tell you, I'm trying my best to make it happen here. and the funding, it was said that there have been There have been some funding for these expos and booths at the international events that already happened here. We've succeeded and get from Ministry of Trade and Business some funding through Czech Trade, the Czech agency, for Czech booth at international events. So at least something. It's small steps, but we're trying.
If I may, a guy just left, and I just wanted to say that he has no clue that this is actually most likely going to be one of the most valuable panels that you're going to see today, or at least one of the most valuable talks, because we're going to be talking about how to fucking get money and get you guys to events for free and all that good stuff. So who's actually, I just want to really quickly take a step back, guys. Who's actually here to get money and to get stuff done? Raise your hand. Why are you guys here? Why are you coming to a talk like this? I'm just really curious to see what drives you guys, because there's not a lot of people here. Let's be freaking honest, right? So are you guys here to make money? Are you guys here to get free stuff? Why are you here? Just a quick couple of examples, because that's what we're going to be talking about, right? We're going to talk about how you guys can get the most out of your own country, how Pavel here can represent you and get you that stuff that you need to succeed. Is that why you're here? Because if not, you can get up. But if you are, raise your hand. I want to see what you guys are here for. I don't want to waste your time. Money? Who else? Okay, I think that's enough. So we'll focus on those guys. How about that?
If you are a Slovak developer, now it's super easy. I was surprised. I didn't know much about it until I get the spot at the jury, and I had to learn on the stuff. And it's super easy. You just applied, and I don't know, there were like 55 applications last year, and 25 projects received the funding, and it's completely like free money.
How many applications?
55. That's unbelievable.
That's 50% chance that you get something in return.
That's 50% chance. 50% chance, and like for Slovakia, 55 applications. That's like a huge amount of projects. Like Slovakia is quite a small country, and even in our case, it was amazing. Like we have 35 indies here, and there were just for that one cycle 55 applications, and yeah, around 50% of the projects received that. And yeah, it's not investment. They are not taking your share or anything. It's just free money.
I have 2 points to what you said, guys. At first, I think a great example is exactly Denmark in this, because there was also, I don't know how hard it was there to start that whole mentality of government thinking about games as something which is really like a cultural part and not just 3 geeks in a garage. But what they did, and what was pretty clever, was they asked basically Film Institute or like those guys represent them, because those guys are taking serious in a government. And in that moment when somebody from Film Institute, some director, whoever is representing that, says like, okay, those games are under us, there's the same like cultural value in there than in the movies, then it starts working.
Well, it's validation, right? It's like you get instant validation for what you're doing.
So that's just a small example from Denmark. But I would like to also say one example. I'm also working for European Union in a creative media program as an expert. It's great to be expert. And I cannot evaluate projects from Czech because you need to, they are trying to avoid any conflict of interests. But I can see projects from many other countries, and I can see that projects from Poland, for example, from Central or Eastern European countries, there are like funding their projects with their own money, like 60%. Plus, and then they are asking for this additional money from European Union. You can ask up to 50% to some limit, and the limit is relatively small for bigger games, but it's still 150, I guess, 150k euros. If you take a look on Scandinavian countries, there is like 50% they are asking from European Union, then they have like 20% from some fund, 20% from another fund, and then they put 10% of their own money into the game. I think, and I strongly believe that it's one of the reasons why their games are more brave, why they are more open-minded because they don't think about their games only in terms of like revenues and how the game should make money. No, they want to try something new. They want to like try something which maybe explores the cultural element more. So I'm not saying that's something for bigger companies. I'm not saying it's something on which you can build up your business if you want to grow as a big company, but it's something definitely for like small indie studios.
Yeah, let me add to that we actually applied as 11-bit for the Creative Europe grant, and we got it. And thanks to that, we can focus on the risky projects, and we did one, and it was called Industrial. We've made a prototype with this funding, like 100-something K, I don't remember exactly. And from your perspective, the paperwork is not that frightening as some people say. Actually, it's pretty easy. The qualifying costs, you can put pretty much every your work and agreement with your workers as a qualified cost. So keep that in mind. And we got this, and we made a prototype called Industrial, and we found it very good. So we forced it into a full game, which is called Frostpunk now. Now a little advertisement. But so I definitely recommend this program. Add me another one. There's a program called Go to Brand, and it's an EU program, but I don't know which agency represents it in Czech Republic. In Poland, it's PARP. It's Agency to Support Industry. PARP, and we are using this program for promotion. There are like at least 30 points in this program you can pick, like even leaflets printing, video trailer production, and they can first you need to pay for it, that's the bad thing, but then they return up to 75%. So this is a nice program. That even covers flights and hotels when you go to some conference or gaming show. So keep that in mind. Google Go to Brand and check what in Česká republika is responsible, what agency is responsible for. I heavily recommend that. The paperwork is not difficult, but sometimes time-consuming. So don't lose focus on your game, of course. But keep that in mind, and I recommend Googling it as well.
So I'm going to want to continue the dialogue with you guys. Who has actually tried to apply for a grant like that? Who has actually tried to get money from the government or from any other institute? All right. Would you want to try if you could get $100,000 from it? Yes, of course. Okay. So we have the same kind of situation in the Netherlands. Some years it had more money than other years. It was called the Stimuleringsfonds. So stimulation fund, pretty much. And people did the same thing. They got trips out of it. They got prototyping money out of it. And even though it's a specific Dutch thing, I mean, I hope it's clear now. We have these kind of situations in almost every country. I think the main thing that is interesting from my perspective in the Netherlands and having traveled all around is that it really just comes down to the paperwork, as Pavel said. So even if you're not good at writing an application, find a neighbor or a friend who can actually do the paperwork for you and just, expensify their time in some way or another. But I'm still, till this day, surprised to see the projects that actually get this money. And I know some companies in the Netherlands that, for good or for worse, have become experts at applying for funding, and they get the grants every single time, and it's just become a separate revenue source out of it for them. And I'm just like, where are the new guys? Where are the guys that might, also use that for cool stuff? And they're just not there. And I'm just wondering what's stopping them. What's stopping you guys from actually writing those applications and getting the money? Because, for good or for worse, it's great for companies like CD Projekt and 11-bit to get that money. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there's a ton of money left for small projects too. And so in the Netherlands, I keep getting surprised at the fact that it's almost usually the same suspects that get that funding, and it's very rarely new ones. And I'm just baffled. Yeah, we have a question over here. Where's the mic man? Mike, man, save
Bring
us.
Mike to Diana.
We'll just call him Mike, because it would be funny if you were actually called Mikal, because there you go. Shot myself in the leg.
So
Change the name.
now you can have question but not hear the answer.
Actually, because we're in Czech and discussing kind of Czech funding, my question is maybe to Vlad, because you said you have like an overview at least, or you know who's applying or not. But do you even have actually Czech applications for the European funding?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No.
I mean, because
Yeah. I will
Yes, we
explain.
have-
I will explain.
Make it rain, Pavel, make it rain.
No, like, definitely you can apply for the Creative Europe. We actually have a talk about it earlier today here at GDS. The first thing that, yes, you can apply, but that's not just that. You can even get help from the Creative Europe or through us. We will connect you with them and they will help you with the application. And also, there actually been quite a few studios that applied before, and some of them succeed. So we will also connect you with the studios that succeeded, and they can give you some advice. And we can also connect you with the one that failed if you want to know how not to do it, because there are studios. And also, Vlad will probably continue, as he said, that he is actually expert, so we can connect you with him or Jer or something, and he's got quite good knowledge and could advise you applying. So there are these options. There are successful studios. One of them is CB Software. That's the last one that received the funding. They are here.
How much did they get?
The full 150,000. That's the maximum that you can get, and they receive the maximum for the game. Someday you'll return. I don't think they are exhibiting, or are they? I'm not sure.
Are they here?
They are definitely here. They are definitely here, but I'm not sure if they are exhibiting. Yeah, and also some other people in the past. Hammerware Studio received the funding actually twice, and CEO Martin is also here. So if you want to get in touch with these people, just come to me and I will connect you with them.
Yes, but overall, definitely you can see that, for example, Scandinavian countries are applying like way more times more. They have like, I think we had something like, and now I don't know exact numbers, but my feeling in the last round we could have something like 5 applications from Czech, I think.
Yeah.
There could be like 10 times more from any Scandinavian country.
I can share a little bit about why I think it's going well, because Denmark is getting at least 2 or 3 games every round, I think, minimum. And we're talking all Europe, right? And Denmark is 5 million people. But there is, the studios that are applying for the different funds, including the European one, actually share the experience and talk about it. And they are not seeing each other as competition, and you shouldn't, because it's really about like I mean, one thing is the application itself, but it's the projects that in the end win. So the helping each other part of like how to write the application, or how much money, how did you do it, all the details is like people share it. And there's like different events where you would focus on like announcing who got it and things like that. So it's public knowledge, and it's also publicly shared again, like details of that. And I suggest that you very much talk about it openly and share the experiences and get better at English in general, because I think that's what they score really high. Understanding, not the language, is the communicating the idea you have. So it's not about how well written it is, does it have mistakes. It's about, can you communicate what you're actually doing?
Yeah, because it's not always a person that is a gamer that reads the application, right, Vlad? Like, I like referring to other people as Vlad. It just makes my brain go funky. So, right, Vlad?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, like I don't know exactly what are all the professions, but you can see they are like teachers. They are like so those like experts are not purely developers. So definitely you should like be able to explain the idea very clearly. You should be able to present your project way better. And I have to say, in those presentations, for example, I could see some Ireland Czech, but from like Central European bloc or Eastern European, we are definitely not that good in like promoting themselves in those applications. We don't use it as our like part of our business structure to do these applications. So that's part of it.
One thing I wanted to add based on your question, Diana, was also from my perspective, there are a couple of other opportunities, right? So we were just talking with Pavel how apparently like the Dutch embassy actually is financing to Dutch speakers. Not me, because I was in this too late. I didn't know about this shit, but maybe next year. But they funded the expenses for those guys to come and speak here, right? So you got Adrian here and that gentleman from Gorilla that has this beautiful Polish name that I'm really bad at remembering, who's or a Czech name. He's Czech. I just insulted him, didn't I?
No, he's
thank
Polish.
God. Okay,
Polish. But yeah, with the
I don't want.
Interesting to know that being a Polish might be.
No, I don't want to miss. No. Dude, I work with Polish people. No, it's like I don't want to. Ah, man. Anyways,
starting to be good panel.
God damn, guys, don't corner me like this. Now I'm blushing. So that's another example. Like another cool thing is like if one of you guys would want to work with me and we would have to draft some contracts or hire a Czech lawyer, blah, 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 I can actually apply to get 1,500 euros covered of the legal fees, right? So now I'm right, like I haven't done any of my Czech lawyer friends any favors because they could just bill me for 1,500 euros and I can just send it to the Dutch government and they would cover it for them. So that would be 1,500 euros for free every year from Vlad. I actually been saving that, and in the end I didn't spend it for the last 7 years. Go figure, right? But these are kind of like examples of things that work between countries that you guys as Czech developers could use from working with a Dutch company like myself. Not that I have anything, at the moment to offer to most of you guys, but if I would, that would be another example. And let's be honest, those kind of numbers add up. 1,500 euros, I mean, I live off of 200 euros worth of food every month, so that keeps me alive if I stay with friends like I've been doing for the last 7 years for at least 6 months, right? So those small numbers, like we're talking about, sometimes like 8,000 euros funding for a prototype, but in the end it all adds up. And if we actually do figure out how the system works, right, then it can make a significant difference in how quickly we scale up our companies. And it's no surprise to me that I'm seeing, people talk about, maybe we should set up a studio here in the Czech Republic, because not only will foreigners come here, and I'm not talking specifically about Vlad here because, come on, he's coming back here to create jobs and stuff like that. But there could be other companies that come into the Czech Republic, talk to Pavel behind your freaking back, and get that sweet, sweet government money because no one is applying. And like Diana said, you're not competition of each other. You cannot decide who's going to get picked, but you can definitely help each other get that opportunity. And then the dice will roll and someone will get money. And if one of you guys gets money, everybody wins. And this is one of the reasons I love working, and I go to Poland more than the Netherlands at this point, because I work with a couple of Polish game developers. The Polish game development scene is one of my favorite scenes in Europe, not because they're more special than you guys, for example, but because I see that cohesiveness and that very simple mentality that if one of them wins, everybody wins. And that's been proven over the last decade that Pawel was talking about, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure what your perspective is on that, but...
Well, thank you for the good word, but indeed it works like that. And I don't know the details about the Czech industry that well, but keep in mind that, for example, when we go to PAX, last year we took 18 teams for PAX, and some are isolated because they want to be isolated. I don't understand it, but still they do. But most of them actually are supporting each other in a very simple way. So if I find a journalist from PC Gamer, which is the main media for games on Steam, in this case, maybe even more important than GameSpot, Then I drag the guy, present the game, but I also present other Polish games, because why not? Then the other developers, when they brought some YouTubers and journalists, they presented my game. So it's a win-win model. We're supporting each other in that way. Some devs don't understand it, and it sucks, to be honest. But I have a feeling it works in a similar way in Czech as well. But as I said, I don't know details. But keep that in mind. Helping each other is helping you in the end. It's like, karma is a bitch in the first place. So there's nothing wrong about that. We are no competition. We're like one big, very well integrated industry, and we should be benefiting from that.
I think one of my favorite things that happened at this game, has anyone been to Gamescom in the audience? Anybody? All right. Was any of you guys part of the Czech booth? No? Anyways, oh yes, there we go. Thank you. So the thing I loved about Gamescom this year was that for some magical reason, the Polish, the Croatian, the Czech, the French, and the Dutch booth were literally 2 meters from each other. So not only did I have a high consumption of vodka for those, and rakia for those couple of days, but it was so easy for me to drag people around from different booths. I've dragged people from the Dutch booth to the Polish booth, Czech booth, to the Croatian booth, back and forth. We were telling each other where to get the alcohol at what time and whatnot. And it was so easy and it was so much fun. And those kind of exchanges, once again, like we're sitting here, at this table complimenting each other's initiatives, but it was that kind of a very simple spatial situation that kind of can show how easy it is for us to do what Pavel just mentioned on a cross-country basis, right? Just simply because, and the best part, of course, was Activision was right across from us, so I saw all the big Activision people going to the bathroom, which was behind the Dutch booth, right? So I was able to annoy all of those guys and say hi to all of them. And then the Romanian booth was next to us too, so I actually talked to Romanian people because I'm originally Romanian. And I feel like just keeping your eyes open beyond the length of, looking beyond the length of your nose, even if it comes to these kind of events, right? It's like you meet a member of the press, look to your left, look to your right, who can you help? And karma can also be a saint, because if you give, you will receive. And that's pretty much been the basis of my career for the last 11 years. If I wouldn't have had that mentality, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't have been able to say that I've built a career on games for the last 11 years. Like, giving is receiving. And understand, there are people in every single part of your communities and circles that want to give you stuff, including the government. And Pavel over here, he's going to be at Gamescom next year. So if you haven't spoken about it with him, what's stopping you, right? And I'm seeing the same thing in the Netherlands. We have all these amazing opportunities, and we're trying to make people aware. And for some magical reason, there's just some barrier that keeps people from acting. And one of the reasons I was hired by the Dutch Game Garden is to make sure that people know that these opportunities are here. So we in the Netherlands want to help you guys. You want to come to the Netherlands, Dutch Game Garden? Want to talk to us? Want to dabble into our network? Just let me know anytime, right?
Yeah, sure, definitely. We already talked with Dutch Game Garden. We had representatives in the past year, and when we try with the Game Dev Hub, follow some of their examples. And as for the cooperation and the studios help each other, I think it happened, as you mentioned, the Gamescom. The first thing is that there were not that many applications. In our case, for us, it was the first time there, and obviously for some of the studios, it was like first major trade show, so they had to see it for themselves how it works, and probably did not prepare as it should be prepared. But also for us as the association was the first time doing such a thing, and we already knew in the beginning that we need to help the studios with the business side, with the preparation somehow. But as it is, because it was the first time, obviously we made lots of mistakes. But we'll learn from them and probably improve it for next year. But there was also one thing that the studios. There was like the Dreadlock Studios, and they've been at a couple of the events. They knew how to prepare. They already did some press release, and then they offer all the other studios that they will help them with the PR. And we did that, and I think the other 4 studios appreciate it, because it was just like just help out of nowhere, and it had some results that some journalists arrived, and it was nice, and they didn't ask for anything in return. It was just they used their mailing list and everything, all the contacts to get some visibilities even for the other studios. And same from our association view, but from us it's expected that we would help. We also try to get the studios into matchmakings and connect them with companies and these sort of things. And I can tell you that right now we are talking about other events for future. Not just Gamescom, we already got discussion about the EGX, Eurogamer Expo in UK, and maybe in the future for the US events. I'm not sure how fast it's gonna happen for the PAX and E3 or something like that, but definitely it's on some roadmap or like future plans. I would recommend, or I would ask the studios to apply. There was a limit for the studios to make the booth happen, and the limit was 5 companies, and in the end we had exactly 5 applications, so it was quite close that it happened. If there would be like 1 less, we actually had like 7, but during the process of preparation 2 companies dropped out. So, but if 1 more would drop out, it would be over and there would be nothing. So I would ask for more studios or indies to apply and be part of it.
I think there is also one point in this, and that's, and you mentioned that, like many studios, many new indie developers think that opportunities just comes and they are waiting there. But I know a lot of big studios which made their opportunities not by themselves, but through some agencies, some other companies which are connecting them with big publishers, which can prepare for them or help prepare them a good press release, can prepare good like journalist meetings and stuff like that. I think that's also a way which is definitely not bad, and we are not using it in Czech industry. Maybe not at all, but we are using it very few times. So you should take a look. There is really a lot of good studios. As an example, my friend's studio, Fox Studios, which is like 30 years plus in the industry. But there is plenty of those good studios which can connect you with big publishers in the world.
Mm-hmm. If I may ask real quick, Pavel, the developers that you sent to Gamescom, those 5, how much did they have to pay to actually have the booth there? Like how much was covered and how much did they have to pay on their own?
Covered was 50%. 50% was covered by the state, the Ministry of Trade and Business.
And this includes travel and accommodation?
This includes only the exhibition space and the booth.
So just who has exhibited at Gamescom? Who knows what this costs? Okay, who doesn't know what this costs? Okay, let me give you a perspective on this. So if you want to have 3 by 3 meters exhibition space, this means nothing. It just not even the carpet, just a piece of concrete. That's 3,000 euros. Okay, for 3 by 3 meters. And that doesn't include the decorations, the walls, maybe some chairs, because they charge like 50 euros per chair per day, which is ridiculous, which is, why I always bring chairs from friends in Cologne. Anyways, so just to give you a bit of perspective about how much money you save, right? I've been going to Gamescom for 9 years. I haven't missed one since 2009 when they moved to Cologne. I stay with a family in Cologne that I've seen the kids grow up from because I've been staying there for so long, for the last 7 years with that particular family. I pay 20 euros a night to stay with that family per person. I have a bathroom, I have a washing machine, I have a swimming pool at my disposal. These kind of deals are the only reason that I would consider exhibiting at Gamescom in the first place, because everything except, like accommodation, travel, all that stuff is fine. Being at the event itself is the rip-off. They take an arm and leg from you. So I just wanted to make sure you guys understand these numbers. Flying to Cologne from Prague is maybe like 100 euros if you book it ahead of time, 150. Staying there, if you find a good hostel, which there are, you're going to have to compete with 350,000 Germans that are trying to get into Gamescom with you, so book ahead of time. I usually book my accommodation for Gamescom in January. I already have it booked because I have friends there now. So, but in the end, being at Gamescom doesn't cost you more than 1,000 euros if you play it right, and that means everything. And then you can just get like a regular pass. If you actually have a business purpose and you want to exhibit, these are the ways that you can make it affordable for yourself and earn it back. And like you guys already mentioned, you want to be prepared. And so just a question back at you, like, are there actually initiatives to be able to cover agencies to help you? Because the only thing I know about is actually calling up the local embassy in a country and saying, hey, I'm coming for a business purpose, can you help me connect with people? Because I'm surprised at how much this has worked out for me, where I messaged the local Dutch embassy and they would actually put people, like this is where your tax money goes to, they would actually put people on top of helping me get business contacts with major companies in different countries, like for example when I went to Finland. So how's that work with you guys?
In case of Gamescom, it was not like that. We've been in touch with the embassy, but they were not helping us with context. It was all on us. But in the past, last year and before that, but that was for the bigger companies, there were programs or like projects to sending companies, Czech companies, to Asia region, and there the government and the embassy in China, and now it's probably South Korea, helping connect the companies with the Chinese counterparts, and it was just like you name the company and they'll bring you a representative, which in China is absolutely amazing. But I understand that this is like for the bigger companies, not for indies, because you are probably not that interested in Chinese market, and it's actually quite expensive anyway, even if the state is helping you to get to China and everything. But yeah, like Bohemia Interactive and Keen and I think Lipa Learning used that opportunity, and they just send the list. We want to meet this company, this company, this company, and the embassy there arranged the meetings and invited, and they get the representative of these companies there.
In other words, if they can bluff their way into making the government believe they're just as big as Bohemia, they can get the same benefits, right?
No, this was not limited for big companies, but it was offered even to smaller companies, but the smaller companies asked how much it would cost us anyway, and it was like 100,000 Czech crowns was like the estimate cost to get there, which is what's like 4K euros. It was like 4K euros was the estimated cost to get there, to get the accommodation and other things. Even though the state and the embassy was covering lots of stuff there, it still was quite expensive. So the indies, that time it was like Cinemax and I think even Charge Monkey considered to join together and send one representative for all these, like let's say for smaller companies to do that, but in the end it did not happen. But I think for the bigger companies it got some benefits, and definitely the Czech embassy in China was able to get any company who asked for.
Pavel, you had similar experiences going to China Joy, right? Like you took some indies with you, though.
Yeah, we actually organized a booth this year at China Joy for 16 games. To give you some numbers, the exhibiting space and the booth, which was a small, simple booth, because we did not have a big budget and we did the design and everything on our own. So we spent 20 to 25,000 euro on the booth. And we organized something with a big help of embassy and consulate in Shanghai, like a big party for networking, to make the developers to give them an opportunity to meet Chinese publishers. And yeah, Consulate did a good job because they invited a lot of important business partners in China, and this is where everything begins. So actually, I heavily recommend this direction to you guys. It's the now probably number 2, but the moment they will become bigger than US is just around the corner. And we're not talking about only free-to-play mobile games. We're talking about hardcore premium stuff as well, because you know, China is bigger than US and Europe altogether when it comes to numbers.
For the record, 25% of all Steam users come from China as of today.
Yeah, we released a game called Beat Cop in March, which was maybe not a huge success, but we're really happy because we sold more than 1,000 copies, and I think 20-something percent of the revenue comes from China already. What we did was just a translation of the game. So please focus on that and keep that in mind. The good thing that also worked at the party was that in China it's really important, and this is something you should really know, that the personal contact at the beginning is very important because that's how they do business. Yeah, they start emailing and so on, but where the business really starts is when you shake a hand and exchange business cards, right? In a proper way.
Face-to-face contact, yeah.
Exactly. This is where it begins, and from there you can meet Tencent. The biggest company in the world now is Tencent, not Valve, not Activision, not anyone, but Tencent. It's a Chinese company. Big Chinese publishers for mobile like TapTap, Bilibili, East to West, they are looking for content, but they need to break this barrier of personal contact at the beginning. So keep that in mind. And what we did was this networking space in China this year. Some teams were not active, which is bad, actually. I'm blaming for without any names, but I'm blaming them for it. Because they were just, hanging around and thinking that opportunities will flood them. No, you need to actively seek. And some teams did that. And I already know that they have already good deals in China. So this is where the money comes from. Keep that in mind.
Also, speaking about China, I had meeting a couple of years ago with Chinese agent or Chinese agency, and the agency was looking here actively for the project because they know and they see the opportunity, and they also understand the Chinese mentality, and the mentality is pretty different. It was a free-to-play project, and they describe me how Chinese kind of understand the free-to-play, that it's different, that you need to have everything shiny, everything you can buy before the gameplay. It's quite opposite of our thinking, like give you some gameplay, then hook you up. In China, it was quite opposite. So it's definitely again great to just try to chat with some of those companies. You can hear that you can have something like 20% of revenues from China without any work, just like translation or with very few man days. But you can have way more probably from free to play if you ask those companies and those agencies.
I think, I don't want to interrupt, but we got last 5 minutes. I think we should give more space to some questions for the audience, if there are any.
Yeah, or closing words if they're not. Anybody have any questions? You got. This is your chance.
And it doesn't have to be just about this. Like anything from different countries, different environments, different.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story about PAX last year, because we organized a booth there. That's in Seattle, and from my perspective as a guy who's working on PR and marketing in games for such a long time, it's probably the most important event in the world for indies, because you have a lot of YouTubers from the West, a lot of media, and people who are really actively looking for indie titles, because the indie community of gamers in the US is huge, and people go to PAX to check everything. They are hungry for games. So it's a great opportunity for you, and because we did that twice with Indie Games Poland Foundation, I heavily recommend it to you guys. But to give you some numbers, last year we spent $30,000 on the space and booth itself. Very small. How do you say?
Space or surface?
Humble. Like, you know,
Yeah.
small, well-designed booth, but nothing super fancy and expensive. But then you have this opportunity, and if you're not there, it's not that the other developer is your competition, but the one who is there, and specifically we can relate that to Gamescom, why you should be there. You're just losing an opportunity, and you can't access to the precious contacts in such meaning of people who are at Gamescom. Other developer is not your competition, it's just the one who uses the opportunity, and you're not because you stayed at home. So please keep that in mind, and also what kind of costs you would have to spend if you wouldn't do that with České hry or any other association you should work for. This is why it's so valuable.
Yeah. My closing words would be always be closing. Be hungry about this kind of stuff because it can make such a difference. I know, I'm not sure if Jana's still here, but Jana Palm is here speaking as well, who's the general manager of Stugan, which is an initiative where any indie developer from all over the world can apply. If you're a 1 or 2 man team, you can end up spending 2 months completely covered in the Swedish forest, away from any kind of daily responsibility, wife, child, you name it, and work on your project. And I did that. I was in the first year in 2015. Now, of course, you had you had to prove yourself by actually covering your flight to Sweden, which for you guys would be around 200, 250 euros with Czech Airlines. But in return, based on my calculations, we got accommodation and food worth 5,000 euros per person for the duration of 2 months. All we had to do is get out of an airplane in Stockholm and get back on the airplane in between. Aside from that, we're now part of the alumni network, which is a bunch of very renowned indie developers that have, become very successful in the meantime because they're hungry and because they were one of the few people that actually applied for that. So look out for Jana because that's another opportunity that you have that can make you stand out. And once again, it's no competition between you guys because it's up to them to pick who gets to go. And there's always an opportunity the year after that again as well. So stay hungry, be mad, always be closing. ABC. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Closing words still. No, I don't have anything major. The thing I would like to recommend is maybe think more out of Czech Republic because I can say then what I can see in Denmark, for example, is very different mentality of people. They are maybe less technical. They are more design oriented, but they can give you different point of view and having like teams from different countries. We have now, our team, Napnok, is 12 different countries. And having people from different countries working together can just help you. So that would be my piece.
So my closing words are follow us on Twitter at České hry.
Please bother Pavel. That's his closing words. Bother him.
Because that's for the Czech and Slovak developers. Because this is the place where we really inform about all these possibilities. Like you named the Stugan, and we promoted there too since the beginning. Since the beginning, we promoted to our followers to apply there. And it's possible to apply for Czech developers. And if you don't know that there is this possibility, you probably won't apply. And I can tell you that there is much more other opportunities which we did not or haven't been able to cover. Like there is a chance for like GDC scholarship. There is this thing with the events like the Gamescom, EGXV. Right now there is a G-Star conference in South Korea, exactly the same dates as GDS, so unfortunately for us we can't attend, or I'm happy that you choose us instead of G-Star. But some of the Czech representatives are there looking into it, what could be done with the South Korea. And we have a partnership with KOKA, some South Korean industry association to do some mutual beneficial stuff between Czech Republic and South Korea, and many other opportunities. And the easiest thing for the first step is to at least follow us and follow what are the possibilities. This is not probably for the foreigners, but just for the Czech and Slovak developers. But it's things are happening. It's not much. It's small steps, but hopefully with your support, this is the thing. If we fail, like if this Gamescom thing would fail, it will totally close the door for us for another few years with the Czech Trade Agency. And just because it happened, it totally opened wider the doors, and then now we are talking about other things that we can do. And we can prepare the opportunity, but it's up to you to apply, to get active, to get on it, and prove the government or state or even other industries, other countries, that we are worth it, that we are already there, that we want it, and better things will come. So follow us on Twitter. Thank you.